Hello and welcome to another edition of A. Vogel's Menopause Mondays. And this week I thought I would talk about what happens after the menopause, when does the menopause start, how long does the menopause actually last. I get an awful lot of queries about this from women who are really not quite sure when everything starts and stops. So to start with, the average age at which you will commence the approach to the menopause is roughly 45 to 55. So the majority of women will start in this particular age group. However, there are a number of women that will start earlier. It can be hereditary. So if your mother, your granny, your aunties, your older sisters all started slightly earlier, then that can be a very good indication that you might well start earlier too. There can also be health issues. So if you smoke, if you are extremely overweight, if you have any specific health issues, then you may actually start a little bit earlier as well. We've also got a very small number of women who will start a lot later, and I've actually heard of women who are 58 and 59 who are still getting regular periods, although it's just a very, very small number of women. Now, the menopause itself, how long does this last? It's like a piece of string. None of us will know how long it's actually going to take. For some women, they're going to have a quick menopause. They're going to be through it before they know it, and suddenly it's like, wow, this is it, it's all over. For other women, they're going to get maybe combinations of symptoms that come and go. They might find that the menopause stretches itself out for a good number of years. And there are those women who it's really going to be the most horrendous time. They're going to be plunged into this mix of hormonal changes that are going to make them feel very, very miserable. And it's difficult to say how long this is going to last for everybody. Each and every single one of you are going to have a completely unique menopause, and we won't know what's going to happen until it actually happens, which is very confusing. It's also very frustrating because in some ways you can't actually plan ahead for what's likely to actually happen. However, there is an approximate time for each stage of the menopause. Now, the perimenopause is the point where your hormones start to change. And this can sometimes happen very, very subtly. And you might not actually realize that you're in the menopause. Your hormones could actually have been changing for a couple of years before you suddenly think, wait a minute, things are not quite the same. This is also the point that can be very, very confusing because you can be having completely regular, normal periods, but you can start to get menopause symptoms. And for a lot of women, with certain symptoms, these are not actually associated with the menopause. You can go to the doctor. Now, the main symptoms that tend to cause confusion at this particular point would be things like joint aches and pains, fatigue, digestive problems, palpitation, headaches and nausea. And very often you will go to the doctor with these symptoms. You might find you're getting lots of palpitations, you'll get everything checked out, you'll be hooked up to a monitor, you might get tested for joint aches and pains. You'll go back to the doctor and the doctor will say, there's nothing wrong. Nothing has come up on the tests. But if you are in the 45 to 55 age group, if you're still getting completely regular periods and you're getting strange symptoms that don't seem to have a particular cause, then very often it's the fact that your hormones have started to subtly change and that these symptoms are actually manifesting themselves at this particular point. For some women, the perimenopause, which in general will last about 3 years from start to finish, even though you might have been in it a little while before you actually click what's going on. So for some women, the perimenopause is actually harder to deal with than the actual menopause itself, because very often once your periods stop for good, then things seem to balance out a little bit more. The problem with the point where your periods stop for good is that you don't know they've stopped for good until you've had at least 1 to 2 years without a period. Now, a lot of sources state that you are through the menopause when you have not had a period for a whole year. What we have discovered is that a lot of women actually will get the odd period after a year. This can be due to various factors. It can just be the fact that your hormones are going, oh, I just want one last fling. So you suddenly get 1 or 2 periods for a couple of months, and then that's it, finished well and proper. It can be, you can be under a lot of stress, you can suddenly be doing a lot of exercise, you can suddenly start to diet. And a very interesting point is that if you suddenly really improve your diet, then that can actually restart your periods, because you're giving the body lots of extra good nutrition, and the body goes, oh, it's a little bit extra, let's have a little whirl. So we tend to say to everybody that you are through the menopause when you have not had a period for 2 whole years. Now, what happens after that? For the majority of women, in the 2 years once your periods have actually stopped, your symptoms should start to tail off. So by the end of the 2 years, you should be seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, if you like. However, and this is a huge however, this can depend on a whole range of factors. It can be your general health. How well did you look after yourself through the perimenopause? It could be due to your diet. Are you eating well just now? It can be due to your stress factors, because stress can really prolong the menopause quite dramatically. So no matter what stage of the menopause you're at the minute, even if you're only just starting, it's vital that you really look after yourself now, because how you look after yourself at the beginning of the menopause may well determine how long it takes for you to get through it all the way through. Now, once you get through the menopause, once the 2 years are up, if your symptoms are starting to tail off, you should start to feel better. And it's just a question of adapting. Our body has learned to adapt without the hormones, and there comes a point where everything plateaus out. If you have looked after yourself well, then there is no reason why you can't have a fabulous life after the menopause. And to be honest, once you're without the ups and downs and all the trauma and drama of monthly periods, it can be really wonderful, because you will find that very often your mood will be a lot more level, you will have more energy, you will have more focus, you will have more drive. So at the end of the day, there's absolutely no reason why you can't feel as good, if not better, as you did before. And this is one of the great things to take with you. Whatever stage you're at through the menopause, whatever is going on for you at this particular minute, just remember that at the end of it, there can be an absolutely fabulous life, and you can focus and you can really enjoy yourself for ever after onwards if you actually want. But the important thing is, please look after yourself really well. Now, I hope this has given you a little bit of a clue. It is a tricky one, because as I said before, we don't know what's going to happen until we actually get there, but prepare yourself as much as you can through good diet, through relaxation, and actually dealing with your stress levels. So I will look forward to seeing you all again next week for another edition of A. Vogel's Menopause Mondays.